And we're back. And we're back. And so as I was discussing this previously, that deals with leadership. Um you cannot, in my opinion, when you come in a position, I don't care if you're black, white, green, you will respect my position. I'm not looking to be friendly. If in fact you, and let me explain so people who are watching or listening really don't know. Grand Rapids is a northern city. It is a very large city. It has a minor concentration of minorities. It is very conservative. The ideology is very, very conservative. It is not a liberal city. It is a very, very conservative city. Um, I do not know what the racial relationships is, but I can imagine that it is. I don't know if it's tense, but I do know that it's not a city like Detroit. Okay, so a lot of times people think, well, it's a suburb, then it probably has a dynamic. It's very, very conservative. I want to say that there are a lot of people who are Republican, and vote very conservatively there. Okay, so as a result, many of the people that your officers may have a different approach or perspective. You got to reel them in. You have to tell them what the mandate is. And the mandate there, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Southfield, South Carolina, North Carolina, Atlanta, has to be the following. If it is a misdemeanor that does not involve assaultive conduct, okay, and that person attempts to flee, okay, then you have to de-escalate the pursuit and let it go. And that's simple. Now, if you see somebody slapping somebody upside their head or knocking them in the mouth, that might be a little different. I'm saying non-assaultive. We have to do that. But leadership has to stop wanting to be friends with those individuals that they preside over. Now, I'm not saying you a slave, okay? But you do work for me and you will follow my mandate. Because here's the situation. Everybody's going to look at that police chief now. Damn, what's going on up there? Huh? What's going on up there? You should have implemented it. All you got to do is have some eyeballs and live on this planet to know that we are seeing a disproportionate amount of escalation with police citizen encounters, especially with black men. Damn, you got to be on Mars. And as a result of that, you have to be proactive in the policies that you have at your police precinct. Bottom line, you got to do that. Now, the use of deadly force, okay, you have to, the person has an honest and reasonably belief that the use of deadly force is necessary to prevent the imminent death or imminent great bodily harm to himself or to another. And obviously, the way that you would look at this is how it appeared to him at the time, whether it was a struggle, etc., etc., etc. The size, the weight, etc., etc., etc. Whether or not the person, could retreat, etc., etc. So there are a lot of variables. But the point of the matter is that when you are trained as a police officer, you are presumed to have superior knowledge of the law. You just presume, whether you do or you not. You cannot be a person that's trigger happy. You can't do that. Okay? And we know that in many situations you do have people who will go to the police force will be the little, assistant little policeman, the the volunteer, the little backups, just so they can harass minorities. I've seen it. And I think everybody else that's probably been on my bench or through has seen it. Because what it is a culture that officers are indoctrinated when you come. Well, what you mean a culture? I tell you, it's simple. If I'm a seasoned police and I bring in I have a person that's dispatched to me, I'm going to indoctrinate them in my views of how we look at crime. So I may sit up there and say, listen, and you see a lady, and they speed, it's discretionary for you to do whatever you want to do. You are indoctrinating these younger officers in the culture in which you operate. Well, if the culture in that you operate is racist, and they looking to for any reason to escalate a situation, then you're going to train younger officers that way, and therefore they're going to act in that manner. So they may have a policy or code in which they investigate crime in Black communities different than what they may do in white communities. It depends on the culture of indoctrination that officer receives at the time that they came into the force. And so what they have to be able to do is simple. You can't break up no culture. Now, if you going to ride with me, you going to roll with me like I said. So what you going to see, now let me explain this to you. Follow along. It's like anybody else with a job, okay? I have, now they grown people. I'm not talking about their children. I have children in the law. What you talking about? Younger attorneys who I have had an opportunity to mentor, and to share my philosophy about how to proceed with a case, etc. And so what I see in those attorneys to a large degree will be many of the tips that I gave them, maybe their style, maybe their approach, maybe how they handle the prosecution, how they handle witness, maybe because of what we've discussed on what is it that I believe makes a good attorney. Okay. Or what they have when they're in my courtroom. And I said, well, where's the case law? Get it now. We're going straight to close an argument. You ain't have 5 minutes. Let's go. You ain't had time to read no notes. Let's go. So as a result of that, okay, that preparation, it is going to follow them wherever they go. If they go to federal court, if they go to other people's courts, etc. So many times what happened was the prosecution would put new prosecutors in my courtroom, so as it was a training. It was like, let's move. And the purpose of that was so that they would learn on their feet, opposed to trying to read this word. And after a period of time, their presentation got better. They were faster on their feet. They knew the law. They knew what to expect because it was a training that they had received in my courtroom. There's no different when you riding with somebody and you a police officer. You riding with that person 8 hours a day. Okay, you talking about different things. You talking about different philosophies. Well, man, what made you want to become a police officer? Then that may be the older person's question, and the younger person may elaborate on whatever their motivation was. And then the older person said, now you see this gentleman over here, now when you ride in a car, always keep your windows down because you got to hear crime. What you talking about? You can't ride around with your earphones on your phone because you can't hear crime. You got to be listening for crime. You got to listen for screams, gunshots, etc., etc. The way that they may train them to write a police report, etc., etc. And obviously, one of the things that they're going to indoctrinate them in is how they pursue different types of people suspected of crimes. What they gonna do and ask oppose, I mean, in a black community opposed to a white community opposed to a Hispanic community. And what's gonna obviously go through that is your feeling. If you are a racist person, it is going to reflect in anything that you do. Whether you're a police officer, a judge, a doctor, lawyer, I don't care. If you're a racist, you're a racist. You understand? That's just how it is. So these are all things that ingredients in how officers are trained. Okay. That's just how it is. And so you say, well, when you want to come on the force and you want to be open-minded and fair about stuff, baby, let me tell you something, that lasts for 5 minutes. Okay. That does not happen. Okay. And what happens is that you be policing by yourself. You got to roll, whoever trained you, you got to roll with what they doing. Because then what they'll say, oh, leave Vonda Evans. Let me tell you something. Vonda Evans, she leave her alone. She's a know-it-all. And they begin to ostracize you, pick on you, bully you. And as a result, people conform their behavior many times. We'll be back. And, what are your thoughts? I see a lot of the people's thoughts that are their comments, and we're going to discuss them when we be back. Right back.